Thanks, Amir. Hi, I'm Puneet. I'm the founder CEO of Message.ai. This talk is called The Turing Test for Money. So just quickly about Message AI before we jump into the talk. So we are an AI platform for conversational interfaces and conversational commerce. Most of our customers are Fortune 500 companies. 10 of the Fortune 100 use us at this point. And we were a Facebook launch partner for the Messenger platform recently. So the reason we are here is because bots are here, right? Science fiction tells us one thing. Reality is something else. Sorry, Lily. But jumping right in, as we get to what we would be calling the Internet of Bots, we are looking at it as two different problems, if you will, or two different problem sets. One is around conversational interfaces, which is anything from voice to text, but there's also what happens beyond that, because the promise of bots is not just that you can chat to something and get an answer, but really what is it that it can do for you. So the Turing test, this is the official definition of the Turing test, is a test of a machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior. So essentially you can't tell whether you're talking to a human or you're talking to a machine. But really, when we look at the first set of bots, at least what we have experienced working with some of the biggest brands out there, is that believability is even more important than efficiency. So what it means is when a consumer is talking to a bot, do they believe that, or do they believe that bot, or can they have trust in that bot, is way more important than what that bot can do for the consumer. So if you unpack the Turing test further, what you see is there's unintelligent human behavior. A lot of humankind does that. Then there's intelligent behavior, and then there's intelligent behavior which humans don't perform, right? So today the Turing test addresses kind of this overlap, which is more focused on believability than efficiency. But going forward, essentially what we are working on and what some of the top brands in the world want from our platform is kind of getting there. And this is something we are completely missing out on. And especially when we are doing new interfaces for bots, we try to dumb them down. Even statements like, oh, do bots need AI? Every system in the world built 12 months from now would have AI in it. Most systems in the world that you use already have some form of AI in it. I mean, like, wake up. So again, we can talk about this till the cows come home, but messaging is obviously eating other interfaces. Proof of that, Smart Car recently sold 388 cars on WeChat. That's a messaging app. So these people did not show up at dealerships. They did not talk to car salespeople. They were messaging and buying $20,000 items on a messaging app. On the right side, that's someone buying their daily cup of coffee. And then there's kind of everything in between. So what we are seeing happen in the West now has already happened in China, except this is a human-powered internet. So all these bots that you see on WeChat, there are tens of thousands of people whose day job is to write these messages back. Obviously, if this becomes our interface to life, that's not an efficient model. That's kind of where AI comes in. Okay, so what have we learned from working with some of the biggest brands in the world? The first thing is the importance of crafting a conversation. If you think about this, you unpack this problem, again, there are two main elements to this. The first one is how intelligent can a bot be? So how much context could it carry forward, and how much in real time could it interpret what a consumer is looking for? But the second thing is, again, around that believability piece. So the art part to this puzzle, the UX part to this puzzle, is sometimes even more important than the AI part to the puzzle, at least in today's world. So when you look at that, what you would notice is, obviously, there are bots that chat and bots that do. So it's somewhere in between an interface and an API. So the interface aspect is to create believability, is to get the information in the most efficient form. But at the end of the day, you won't use bots that do nothing for you, right? Even the bots that just chat with you and give you content have to entertain you in the best possible fashion. The second part to this entire puzzle is the way, at least this is our worldview, is going forward you would have bots that represent individuals on the internet and bots that represent businesses or brands on the internet. And at some point in the future, these bots would chat with each other and negotiate with each other. So my bot could talk to Delta Airlines and United and JetBlue and say, hey, I'm only going to talk to one of you. Give me a 10% discount, and I won't chat with anybody else, but this offer stands for the next 10 minutes. So that's a negotiation tactic that humans practice today, but would bots do it? Probably in the near future. So that's where you draw the line, which is, which bots are representing individuals and which bots are representing businesses. And then, one thing that some of the bigger brands are always thinking about is around, issues around data privacy and what adds value. So we have created this concept of a data hug. It's like, would you trust a bot with your identity? Now ask this question to yourself as a consumer. Would you trust a bot today with your identity? No. So many people come up with the same answer. No. It feels like giving too much there. Would you trust a bot with your wallet? Would you? Would you trust a bot with your emotions? That's becoming the cheapest currency these days. But so what happened was, the first brand bot ever on Facebook Messenger was built on our platform by Sony Pictures. So we ran an experiment where we said, if we wanted to achieve all those three, where people give us a bot their identity, trust the bot with the wallet, trust with their emotions. Goosebumps was a $100 million movie, and their main Messenger ID had no community managers behind it. This was pre-send receive API. This was last year. And consumers ended up having 10-minute long conversations with it on an average. The longest conversation, believe it or not, was 2 hours. And some conversations involved anything from people saying, hey, my kid has this soccer game tomorrow. Would you come with us? Another person saying, I have a chemo appointment day after tomorrow. Would you accompany me there? There's another person that said, would you accompany my family to watch the movie Goosebumps, right? So not only were they buying tickets and buying merchandise, they were having these amazing conversations where they let the guard down. So now that's one lens to look at it, right? This was essentially an experiment in conversational interfaces. But we are already trusting bots with our identity, with our wallets, with our emotions. If you think about it, website and apps are bots as well. They just speak another language. It's just technology packaged in a different way. They talk in the form of clicks rather than talking in the form of messages. So how is this different now? How is this word different now? So long story short, talking like a human, we think that's the biggest challenge with bots. All the NLP problems that we're solving and making sure the conversation feels human. We think that's a really, really, really small part of the problem. This is a fundamental restructuring of the human-machine relationship that we are going through. And all those aspects that we mentioned, we don't have answers to those yet, but we at least know what questions to ask. Especially as this becomes a mainstream interface, would commerce stay the same? Maybe we don't have to go ask a machine to make recommendations on which shirt should I buy next or which shoes based on my last preference. Maybe there's somebody watching out for me to do that. Maybe somebody already knows that I have a high enough intent to travel to Cannes the week after next, and they book tickets for me. So there are all these things that are happening, and the main takeaway, I would say, if you could have one takeaway from this talk, it would be that don't look at bots and try to put it in some sort of a structure that you already know. This is a fundamental restructuring we are going through. So don't compare it to, hey, apps behave in this way, so we need to have a bot store because there was an app store. Or that when browsers came into being, people created websites, and the first generation of websites had logins, so now we need logins. So the main thought process here is, we have this opportunity to go through that fundamental restructuring, really eliminate friction. We have the right tool sets now. AI is here, deep learning is here, and all of us everybody in this room, we all collectively have to do a great job at making sure this becomes the interface to life. So this is how, at least, we are solving the problem. I won't bore you with the details, but if you have questions, I'm around. We mostly use a reinforcement learning, a branch of deep learning. in order to create these amazing conversational interfaces. And then, like I said, we are using a bunch of different UX techniques in order to solve the problem. Like even if you look at search, that's kind of the easiest way to think about a combination of UX and AI. Typically, when you do a Google search, you would expect an answer back. What you get back instead is a set of links. That's a UX solution to an AI problem, where you don't have enough of a resolution on the definiteness of the answer. You provide some options so that the consumer can dig in. So that's an example of how UX and AI kind of come together. But obviously, in the sense of conversational interfaces and commerce, it's a fairly different context. Something that we're all working on and discovering. So that's it. Would love to take any questions or chat with you afterwards. But hope you enjoyed the Turing test for money. Quite a few. We are working on some, but that was the first one that we did. Well, I think all the work we are doing on the intelligence side is hopefully causing the user to do the least possible work, because now you have stateful bots that remember who you are, and they can potentially buy on your behalf and do stuff on your behalf. Again, I think the natural language part, most people, when they think about AI for bots, they think just natural language processing, and I think that's just like a very small part of the problem. It's how you apply AI holistically to this problem. We are applying it to self-driving cars. Can't we apply it to bots? So I think it's pretty much the same word, if you will, but it's just two different takes on the problem.
We'll take one more question. You can repeat the question.
Sure.
So you're doing human-assisted stuff. Are you doing live human-assisted? And are you letting people know if it's human or not?
So the question was, how are we doing human-assisted stuff? Do these humans step in a live fashion, and are we exposing that to the consumer? So yes, we are doing human-assisted AI. Most of our customers are able to get to about 90% without need for a human. And then for edge cases where the AI is still learning, a human steps in. Most of the brands are telling the consumer that a human has stepped in, so there's full transparency there. But the goal really is that gradually AI learns well enough where it starts to perform better than the human that stepped in. Thank you.